Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Frank here, continuing to work on the Cub Cadet 4x4 articulated tractor. A couple weeks ago, created a plywood mock-up of the bed of the dump truck. You know, the purpose for doing that was to get the approximate overall size and some semblance of the shape, though it was much simplified. I've since gone back and modified the shape of the mock-up. I've done a new one I'll show you in a second. A little more accurate rendering, plywood rendering of what I had originally had in mind, with the idea of it being similar to a rock truck. I'll show you the mock-up of it. Before I get to that though, I've got some drilling to do. I've got to get the mag drill out and make some holes in the frame again for bearings to hold the hydraulic cylinders in place. So I'm going to get started on that. Then we'll get the mock-up back on the bed and look at that and maybe get you guys to give me some more suggestions for what you think it should look like. So since it's still plywood, it's easy to change. All right, let me get the mag drill out. Let's drill some holes first. This is just a look. This bearing obviously is not going to go on the outside here. I'm using it to locate the other hole. So these are on the inside of the frame. But this gives me the spacing and the location. So I can drill the hole in the right spot. There we go. Right there. All right, so that gives me the other bolt for the flange bearings on the inside. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so there's one. We just drilled the bottom hole there. And then the one here. All right, so they hold this transverse. So those two bearings hold this transverse rod, which supports the bottom end of the cylinders. I'll put spacers on the rods to hold them in the right position. There's about a 1/2 inch clearance under the drive shaft for this rod. All right, I think that finishes up all the welding on the subframe and for the lift frame. All right, I've got to drill holes for this flange bearing in this frame. The frame's already assembled. So I got to do it by hand pretty much. Fortunately, locations are, not critical here. As long as I get them close. Let's get that in the vise a little bit better. All right, so I'm using these vortex point drill bits, and so this has kind of a spiral point. Here's another one. So this is the set vortex point drills made in the USA. So don't use these very often, but they do make hand drilling a a little easier. I think they cut faster. So we're going to see. I haven't used them too many. All right, let me get some oil. Ruin these bits. That's already all the way through. The point is anyway. That's pretty quick. This bit's just under 1/4 of an inch. Wow. Definitely fast drilling. Let's see how this goes. Wow. That eats right through the metal. Look at that. That's kind of phenomenal. I will say that it bites so hard that it wants to twist it out of your hand, and if you let it do that, it's liable to break the bit. So that's the only thing I would say you have to be careful of with these, is they do take a serious bite. Okay. They go right through this mild steel. I will say they tend to grab. But they cut through very quickly. So I would say, certainly for these larger ones, you want to be really cautious with a hand drill. They take such a big bite. that they tend to want to twist the drill out of your hands. I think they'd be better in a mill or drill press. Otherwise, the forces caused by this point, in terms of the depth of cut it takes, how aggressive it is, liable to twist the drill out of your hand and potentially break the bit. So they cut very fast. I've used them a couple other times when I had to hand drill and I was using a slightly larger one, 1/2 inch or something, I think. I didn't drill a pilot hole, so it didn't tend to grab as much. But that certainly makes quick work of that. Somebody just came in. What you doing, butchie boy? Huh? What you doing? What you doing, huh? What you doing, huh? You being a good boy? Huh? Yeah. It's raining again. Yeah, give me that ball. Okay. Look at you. Oh, there's my brew. Come here. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me set these drill bits down so I can pay attention to both of you. Oh, my good boys. My good boys. Look at that. Look at that. For such a big, bad bruiser, it's so silly to see you roll over on your back and get your tummy rubbed, but that's what you like. Back on the vortex drills. This one I was using 25/64. I mean, just a 64th over 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to use 3/8 inch bolts. This is what, 13/64, 15/64, one below 1/4 of an inch. You know, when I'm drilling pilot holes for larger bits, I tend to use odd sized bits rather than use my 1/4 inch bit. I go a size smaller or 2 sizes smaller to a size which is not often used, so that I don't, so when I need my 1/4 inch bit, it's sharper and ready to go. So this set. So this is probably the 3rd time I've used a bit out of this set. So most of these are untouched. So I will say the smaller sizes, a hand drill, I think they work okay. They do cut fast, so they take a aggressive chip, so they tend to twist. The larger ones, I would almost say, be really careful if you're using a hand drill. They do make a very aggressive chip, which puts a lot of torque on the drill. And in here, drilling these holes, I was bracing the drill against my body and my body against the frame that I was drilling through, so that I didn't have as much of a tendency to move out of position and potentially break the bit. So, yeah, I would say the larger ones, be careful with the hand drill. They're probably better in a drill press or in the mill. They do cut very fast. So it's an aggressive point on these drills. But they do have their place. If you're hand drilling a big hole, maybe be careful about the size of the pilot hole. Do a smaller pilot hole. Large pilot hole gets you further up on the point, which gets you a more aggressive cut from the very beginning. Smaller pilot hole will give you time to shave away that in smaller increments. Less torque on your drill at the beginning of the cut. So there you go. All right, as I explained last week, one of the reasons I'm using 2 cylinders is because I have this drive shaft going basically down the middle, not quite, ½ inch over from the middle. So there really wasn't a good place to put a single cylinder after I moved the axle back. So I've got 2 cylinders here that I'm working with. They'll be plumbed in parallel, so they'll both operate at the same time. I will say this is kind of a fussy installation here in terms of trying to do it by myself. The cylinders are heavy, so all right, I finally got the spacers right, I think. So this end of the cylinders can't interfere with the drive shaft. There is a 1/4 inch clearance underneath the drive shaft. And of course this shaft doesn't rotate or anything, it's just to hold the ends of the rods. I mean, there's probably 5 ways to do it, but Butchie says, what do you think, Butchie? What do you think? What do you think, Butchie? Huh? What a good boy. Coming in and checking on me again. Such good dogs. Such good dogs. Yeah. He said, I want some hugs, Daddy. Give me a hug. I tell you, German Shepherds are the nicest dogs. Well, I only say that because that's all we've ever had. Except, we did have, one time, we had a standard poodle. And she was certainly sweet too, but she was a hunting dog. No rabbit or squirrel ever survived entry into our yard with her around. and she was fast enough she could catch them. These guys will chase. These guys will chase a rabbit or something in the yard, but they're not fast enough to catch them. All right, so they can't hit the drive shaft, which is the key there. Okay. Get the lift frame on and mount the top end of the cylinders. All right, I got the spacers right. The cylinders can't hit the drive shaft. And remember, the shaft here is only holds the bottom end of the cylinders. It doesn't turn or anything. The bearings are there to support it, and they're the easiest thing I could think of, simplest thing I could think of, which could be taken in and out. Got the upper connecting point here, just set in place. This spacer is the same as the one at the bottom, so I just want to measure for the other two spacers. They're different from the bottom because the spacing between the bearings is different. Now it is interesting, if you look at these two cylinders, the cylinder bodies are actually different lengths. Even though the pin-to-pin distance is identical, 19¼ inches, the difference is this has a longer shaft that sticks out than this one. So even though, you know, they are different manufacturers, I've had this one for several years, left over from another job that it didn't fit or changed my mind on. So I couldn't get the identical cylinder, but this is the same specs. So the fact that they're different length is kind of irrelevant. Okay, finally, let me tighten these nuts down and operate the cylinder. All right, so it goes nearly vertical. And it's having the two cylinders there actually helps stabilize it a little bit. All right, guys, thanks for your patience. I was going to wrap this up and I said, wait a minute, I didn't show them the new dump body. All right, let me get that. We'll throw it on the tractor and see what you think.
You can come anytime now.
All right, so there it is. It's considerably larger than the other one. We'll make a comparison here in a minute. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to put, these are decorative at this point to try to mock up what some small pieces of channel to reinforce the sides of the bed might look like. I don't know about this yet. It may look better without them. So I'm not going to say that's necessarily the exact way it's going to be. But I did mention, I think, to some of the folks that were commenting that I was going to be an open bed. I need to do one more thing. I need to raise this up 3 inches. I think. My intention was to do that at least. Okay, something like that. All right, right now I'm have mixed feelings about these braces, though I think they will be helpful. This is about as big as I can make it. It's 1.5 inches narrower than the tread, the tire width on each side, so a total of 3 inches narrower. And it's 6, well, if you include the tabs back here, it's 6 or 7 inches longer than the original one. So, I mean, it's not hugely, it's not a whole lot larger than the original one, but the base is a couple inches wider. This is a couple inches taller. It's a couple inches wider this way. So it is a little bit bigger than the original one. Now, of course, the original one was built just to see about scales, relative size, and I think this is a good size here. And I don't want a tailgate. I have another trailer. My Gator has a tailgate. Makes it hard to dump stuff. This, I think will be, simpler. Load up, move it, dump it. Not have to worry about a tailgate. So, let me know in the comments what you think. I still have some choices to make, and that is first of all, whether to use reinforcement channels. And I won't make them until I get the whole bed assembled and decide. I would like to give you a better view from this side, but it's tough because I can't get the distance. I don't have the space in here to get far enough away to really give you a good view of it. I almost like it better like this. So that decision will depend on two things: what it looks like when it's done, and the second factor will it be strong enough to hold together. I mean, this lip here, you know, reinforces the sides because it's angled, and the front there has a couple of reinforcements to hold the front in. So those are purposeful, serve a purpose, not only retaining dirt but also as a reinforcement. Of course, the blocks of wood on the inside are just because this is glued together. Wish I could give you a better view. It's raining outside, and personally, you know, if you imagined it painted yellow and with a tire on here, let me move a tire into place. So as most of you guys that have watched, you know, my channel before, you know, I'm kind of a seat of the pants, iterative designer. I have a vision in my mind of what I want, and I just start putting stuff together. Doesn't always take a straight line to completion. I often backtrack, as you've seen me do on this project. Backtrack, make some changes, go forward, try stuff out, see what it looks like, you know, and then decide, you know, what I would like to do and make changes. So I spent, you know, a couple hours yesterday making this. I didn't record it because it was the same process as I used to make the first one, which you saw a couple weeks ago. So tell me what you think. The machine needs some paint. No question about that. I may get some paint on it, and I've said before in previous projects, the paint helps visualize the result. So seeing it in colors sometimes gives you a better idea of what it's going to look like finished than just looking at it in black or whatever its native color is. That's what I'm looking at building, and this, I will have to say, this is pretty close to, you know, a replica of the panels. So, you know, I mean, these panels are tapered. The ones at the top are not. The ones at the bottom are. I may cut the corner off of these just to streamline it. But there she is. Tell me what you think. What are you guys doing? You've been outside, you're all wet, and you've been barking at the trucks. Bark all day long as they come and go. Barking, barking, and barking. All right, you're all wet. All right, folks, that's it for this week. Got the hydraulic cylinders mounted, so I'm happy about that. I think they're going to work fine there. I kind of like the look of the two cylinders. You know, a lot of the rock trucks you see pictures of, or you see real ones, they have hydraulic cylinders mounted on the outside. And I thought about that for a bit, but I don't have I'd have to buy those cylinders, and the cylinders are not cheap. I paid $200 for the second cylinder. The first cylinder that I've had for a couple of years, I probably only paid, you know, like $120 for. They've gone up, $200 for a cylinder. So buying two additional cylinders that are even longer, with longer strokes, and mounting them on the outside would be cool. I mean, I suppose I could do that at some point too, but I think it's, I mean, I've seen rock trucks both ways. The cylinders hidden and the cylinders on the outside. On the outside seems to actually be the more frequent approach to dumping the bed. But I have seen, some with the cylinders you can't underneath. So that's what I chose to go through. Some for economics, because to buy 2 more cylinders of the proper size to dump the bed from the outside would be $600 or $700. I mean, that's a lot. So I had the 1 cylinder, bought 1 more cylinder. I kind of like the look of the 2 when the bed's lifted. So anyway, we'll come back next week, continuing to work on this. I'd like to get the hydraulics hooked up, so that'll kind of be the focus next week. We'll make some hoses, run some lines, maybe test it with air. I have some Schrader valves I can screw into the cylinders and operate them. Or maybe screw into, the ends of the hydraulic hose to operate the cylinders. So that's where we're headed. And, at some point, I mean, I'm getting close to the point where I can start cutting sheet steel for the, to build the bed. I'm anxious to do that. Probably some of you, are anxious to see that done too, because that means it's closer to completion. And I do have other, cosmetic things to do to the tractor. I got to cover the tunnel there between your legs. Don't want a bunch of stuff flying up out of there should the drive shaft break or something. And, I need foot pads. Probably have fenders on at least the rear wheels will have fenders on them. I don't know about the front wheels. I have to think about that. Could do both. So anyway, lots more to do. Thank you for watching. Tell me what you think of this new bed design, and we'll see you next week.